Everyone, this is Maksim Cruz coming to you live from Miami. Just wanted to hop on here and just kind of do a quick question and answer on what's been going on this week. If you're watching this, let me know how the feed is coming out. I am trying new things here in our studio, so things seem to be functional. But we're still working out some technical details. So if you want to comment, I believe we should be able to see comments that come through here. So if you comment, I know I'm streaming right now on Instagram Live. I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch. That's about it. So Twitch, I know, is a gamer's platform, and here I focus on real estate. But nevertheless, you never know where people have questions and where we'll be able to serve the community of what's going on. If you can hear me, let me know. Again, I got kind of a mic set up here. Let me get it out of the way. I don't want it to be in the way. So making sure that you could hear me well. But yeah, so 2021. A lot of questions that are happening right now with real estate, everything from residential to commercial real estate to investment real estate to industrial real estate, right? Everybody wants to know, everybody wants like this magic ball of saying, hey, you know, what's happening next? What should I invest in? What is the right move for me? Should I be, you know, opening a business, or should I be scaling my business? Or what is it that I should be focusing on? And that is kind of the first thing that you need to figure out. For a long time, I dabbled in a lot of different things, and then finally I decided to commit to commercial real estate and focus on commercial real estate. And that's what really transformed my career when I decided to specialize in something and really, you know, just do that. So I don't like to give out advice, but if I could give out advice, that would be my advice for 2021. Focus on what you know. If you've been doing really good with residential real estate, for example, I speak with a lot of individuals, investors that are focused in residential real estate, and right now they're saying, hey, you know, we're looking at 500 to 600 properties. To make an offer on one of them, or to make an offer on 5 of them, one of them comes back and we're able to negotiate and maybe get it into escrow. So it's definitely competitive. It's definitely, let me make sure I see the chat here just in case anything comes through. So as I was saying, in the residential real estate space, it's definitely competitive. Definitely a lot of things that are happening, a lot of things that are going on. And again, I'm not an expert in the residential market because I do focus in the commercial market, but nevertheless I hear and I speak with colleagues to make sure that I'm aware of what's going on. Now, the biggest thing that I would say to look into residential real estate right now is make sure you're following the demographics. My broker, who's also my mentor, continues to say, you know, real estate is not only about location. Real estate is also about timing. For example, think back in, I don't know, let's see, 1950s, right? If you were able to secure real estate in downtown New York back in 1950, would you have done it? Versus right now, what is happening with the current world situation as of February 2021, would you want to secure real estate in downtown New York? Now, probably you're saying, hey, you know what? Real estate fluctuates with time. And if you're a savvy investor and you have the financial backings, or you have at least a plan, you might predict and say, hey, you know, over the next, who knows, 1 year to 3 years to 5 years, the returns in New York City, specifically in the commercial properties, might not be the best, but it's going to come around because New York will always be New York. Paris will always be Paris. Rome will be Rome. Hong Kong will be Hong Kong. Those major cities, what makes those cities, the life that goes on, the culture that goes on in the city. Same thing with Miami. Those things are not going away. So it's a thing of timing. So with the residential market, I know there's mass exodus out of some states into other states. Make sure you're aware of where people are moving to. That brings two sides of the coin, where obviously there are opportunities in both the states where people are leaving, and the states where people are occupying. But make sure you're understanding what are the demographics of the people that are moving. For example, here in Florida, for a long time, we had a retirement community, and that retirement community obviously needs certain services where, a startup business, of course, there's ads on everything that you watch nowadays. So anyways, where the retirement community here in Florida might need different services versus the startup community might need something else. So where is the opportunity to service the demographics that is moving to your local area, and what type of businesses will be able to support those, and what environments are available for things to thrive? So that's something always to look out for. Pricing is understandable. There's what's called like an X relationship between things. For example, when interest rates are low, prices tend to be high. When interest rates are high, prices tend to be lower. Also, there's an issue of supply and demand. That happens in every single market. For example, if you follow fuel or you follow the oil industry, why does gasoline vary so much? You can't argue that it's a political thing. You can't argue that it's supply and demand issue. You can't argue that the system is rigged, and there's a lot of other factors that go into it. But just look out for those reasons. Is there a supply and demand issue? Why is it that certain things are higher and certain things are lower? What's causing the market to really move in a certain direction? A lot of people talk about bubbles. A lot of people say, we're in a bubble. Sure, if that's what you want to focus on, sure, we are probably in some sort of bubble. We are overdue for a correction. Now, I will say, even though if we're overdue for a correction, if Florida continues to see 1,000 people per day moving into this market, and there's not enough housing for those people to live in, guess what? The housing market has got to go up. Those people that are coming here, they're coming here because maybe they're looking to start a business. They have an existing business that they're relocating here to Florida. So that drives employment numbers as well. So there's a lot of different factors that kind of go into it together. In the commercial real estate things, especially the multifamily, we're seeing great numbers. I know there's still a lot of eviction moratoriums. I know there's still kind of a hold on beginning the foreclosure process, but still a lot of the landlords are reporting anywhere from 85 to 90% of collections on existing rental contracts. So typically, depending on what your investment portfolio looks like and what type of investment criteria you have, most of those investors, they predict a good, 5 to 10% vacancy. So even at 85 to 90% collections, their numbers are still performing well. So some of those owners might not be as incentivized to let go of those properties because they're still, performing. Maybe their return has been maybe 10% less than they were traditionally expecting, but nevertheless, those numbers are still performing. A lot of the sellers that I speak with, they continue to say, hey, you know what, maybe I'm ready to scale up a property. This property value has gone up. The rental values has gone up. I've stabilized the property. I'm ready to let go of this 20 unit building, and I'm going to invest into something bigger. If you're thinking of doing that, of course, you can take advantage of the 1031 exchange rule, which in my understanding is still in effect. For how long, I don't know. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, just because there's a lot of even though it's politically driven, there's a lot of businesses that are behind politics, and to be able to say that we're going to take away the whole 1031 exchange altogether is probably unrealistic. If that ends up happening, I mean, who knows? I don't know. But again, I think there's got to be a lot of business lobbying to make sure that if the 1031 is adjusted, it's adjusted in a way that's still favorable in a sort of way and not just taken away altogether. So that's kind of my point of view. I'm not an economist. I'm not a statistician. I want to say that I don't follow trends, but I make sure to concentrate on things that I know. And just on what I'm hearing, that's kind of the general idea. Things aren't just going to stop. Things aren't just going to go away into nowhere. If you understand capitalism or entrepreneurship, you understand that there's always individuals that are seeking opportunity to provide value to others. And this is really what it comes down to. I know I'm kind of rambling on here, and hopefully I'm bringing you some value. If you have some questions, let me know. If I don't see it in the live comments, I will go through it with my team probably tomorrow, and we'll answer some specific questions. Again, if you want to book a call with me, the best way to do so is if you go to my website, maxcruzrealtor.com. There's all of my contact information. You can shoot me an email. You can shoot me a WhatsApp. I don't know if the calendar link is up there yet, but whatever's just easier for you. If you just want a consultation, right now we're doing a lot of consultation with banks as well as business owners, just kind of evaluating what the options are. Last week, I actually met with a business owner, and we came up with a strategy that he's going to be looking to sell his building, but doing what's called a leaseback. So what that's going to allow him to do is, because his business is not, his revenues have gone down due to the whole pandemic, but his business is still kind of just floating above water. He's going to be able to take the assets that he has in the building, for example, the real estate itself. He's going to sell the real estate, use the money that he gets from the real estate to support his business, and then he's going to have a lease. We're going to do a 10-year lease in the building with what's called a first option to purchase when they do decide to repurchase. So what will that allow him to do? Number one, the investor, probably somebody that's going to buy this, is going to buy this saying, okay, I'm going to buy this building. It already has a tenant in it. I'm going to get this amount of money per month, this amount of money per year. It's going to be a triple net lease. The tenant is highly incentivized to stay there because he has a lot of equipment. So the upgrades are already done. So it's kind of, it's a type of investment where, and again, this isn't an offering memorandum of any sort, and I don't have the listing yet, so this is just options that we are providing. And I want to come on here because maybe you're watching this, maybe you have an existing business and you're just looking for options to stay afloat, and nobody has told you this. Your CPA hasn't told you this, or your tax attorney hasn't told you this, or your attorney or your real estate broker hasn't told you this. So maybe this will bring your value and you'll be able to save your business by doing this. So anyways, pretty much what you could do is you could put up the real estate for sale. Make sure you do what's called the sale-leaseback. So you make sure you draft the lease. You have your attorneys draft the lease in your favor as a tenant, and make sure that you put there the option of the first right of refusal. So let's say year number 5, the whole pandemic is over, your businesses are thriving, you made wise investments with the money that you were able to get from the sale, and now you're ready to buy back the real estate because you want to own the building that you have. And with the mortgage scenarios, depending on where the interest rates are, you might be paying a little bit less versus staying into a lease. You have options, right? You can either buy that building back, and sure, the investment is gonna, the investor who initially bought it is gonna have a 5-year holding period where he's got to get a certain return on all that stuff. Or you can go ahead and if you invested it and now your business is doing great and now you're back on your feet, you're able to 10x your money because you focus on your business. Maybe you buy another building and you extend that lease that's there, and then you continue increasing your operations. So that just gives you options. You see, like sometimes what I found is a lot of the real estate brokers, they go in there and they're all about, hey, let's get the seller to sell. Let's make sure we go and speak with this individual. If they're ready to put their listing up on the market, we'll get them a bunch of offers, and we'll make sure to sell this building and get the maximum profits and get our commission while we're at it, right? Real estate can be much more beautiful than that. I think when we as real estate brokers, as human beings, when we bring value to others and just say, hey, you know what, these are the options that are available to you, go ahead and check that out. I think there's enough goodwill that's made that, hey, we were able to help you with that problem. And if 5 years from now you're looking to sell your building and your business together, then it'll be a payday for us, because we built this relationship and I was able to bring you value and you trusted me with the services, and then we were able to sell and get you what you wanted, right? But it's not an immediate return. Sometimes, just because the seller, just because the owner of the building or the owner of the real estate doesn't want to sell at that moment, how can you bring them value? Do they have a roof leak? Can you connect them with a good commercial contractor that you have used in the past in order to solve their issue? So if they have an empty office upstairs, maybe you can lease that office for them and get a commission that way. So there's just so many ways that you can bring value to individuals, and that's something that we decided to build this studio about, because we want to start bringing content focused around commercial real estate, primarily to help real estate owners, real estate investors, just to give them ideas. Also, this is a marketing studio, so when we do have listings, our intent is, commercial real estate is kind of a closed niche. It's different than, for example, the residential real estate where you have the MLS, you have Realtor, you have Zillow. The consumer has a lot more options of how to search for residential real estate. In commercial, obviously LoopNet and CoStar have kind of been the giants that have locked in the information, but it's really a tight-knit community where, as a broker, it's your responsibility to communicate with other brokers, to communicate with the right investors, to communicate with the right lenders, to communicate with the right individuals that might be looking for that. And then when we market the property, sometimes, a lot of the times actually right now, the properties are not on major websites because they're what's called off market. The seller, for whatever reason, doesn't want to advertise to the public they're selling this building. They kind of want to do it in an old-fashioned, kind of hidden, quiet way where, hey, if we're able to find a seller, if we're able to find a buyer and line them up, let's try to do a transaction so that way the tenants don't leave, or whatever the scenario is. And sometimes it's just individuals that have owned this asset for 20 years. They're looking to retire and they don't necessarily want to tell the world, hey, you know what, my company, we hold 20 buildings across Southeast Florida, and now we're going to get rid of all of these office buildings or all of these commercial plazas. They want to have semi-private transactions, so when they do sell it, they're not going to have everyone and their uncle and their cousin and their niece calling them saying, hey, you sold your 20 unit portfolio for whatever, $200 million, and now, where's my piece? Sometimes people just want secrecy, I guess is the word, to be behind it. Obviously, there's a lot of ways of what you can do with your assets. One of the things that we are helping a lot of the owners right now is making sure that they have the right estate planning. We work tightly with a group of attorneys, depending on where you're located. I don't want to say we recommend, but we can give you a few names of attorneys that we have worked with that will make sure, they run through your kind of your holding portfolio, making sure you have your LLCs, your trusts, your land trusts, all of it set up in a way that's not only tax friendly to you, but also in the case that you were to pass and you do become deceased, making sure that you have a chain of command and the way that these properties are passed down through probate. Hopefully it doesn't have to go to probate if it's in a trust. Again, the attorneys handle all of that stuff. I'm not an expert on that, but at least we have the general idea, right? Believe it or not, there's still some smaller investors that might just have a small shopping plaza. For example, I was recently touring a shopping plaza that had a small convenience store, had a small barber shop, and I think it was a dentist office, and that's it. It was just 3 units, and this was being held under the owner's name. And sometimes just recommend, hey, why don't you look at this just in case something were to happen. Making sure that you do have a will in place, or check out this attorney and consider putting it in a trust, and make sure you have the right trustees. So there's a lot of different things that I can talk on and on about real estate. Again, right now I don't know how many people are seeing this, just because I don't have all the individual channels open, and I'm kind of by myself in the studio right now trying to see how this works out, make sure that it's working effectively. But if you leave comments, and I'm sure as we continue to produce content on a weekly basis here, again, we're finishing up the calendar. So once I have the calendar, that we'll kind of announce on when our shows will be and have specific titles about them. But at least one day a week, I do want to personally come on here, answer any questions that you might have. Again, I don't have all the answers. If I don't know the answer, at least I'll try to write it down, connect with individuals that do have the answers, and then get back to you and say, hey, I'm not an expert in this field that you just brought up. For example, I'm not an expert on land, especially when it comes to, kind of huge redevelopment things. But again, I do have resources that have that. What I'm talking about is, I have an understanding of what it takes for zoning. I have an understanding of what it takes for redevelopment. I have an understanding of what it takes for assemblage. Our team has done multiple deals actually where we have represented either the buyer or the seller in that type of transaction, and have seen the process go through. Land has its own challenges, especially here in South Florida. There's a lot of environmental issues to consider. So again, there's a group of individuals that kind of just focus on that. I try to focus more on investment properties, sellers that are looking to dispose of their investments and get maybe into larger scale investments, or really diversify, maybe sell their portfolio of small retail units and go into multifamily, or go into industrial, or vice versa, for whatever the reason may be. So that's kind of the things that I focus on. And again, with the residential stuff, I know there's a lot of people moving here to South Florida. We will try to bring you content about some residential. If you're looking for certain market updates, etc., I always try to present market updates, and I do have some residential numbers on there as well, because again, I truly believe that there's a correlation between what's happening in the residential market and where people are moving to, and what's happening there with the business and the commercial market. Because if nothing on the residential market is transacting, then probably not a lot is happening in the commercial market, and both are kind of aligned. Sometimes as we look at graphs, what you end up seeing is, for example, the residential and the commercial, they're very closely together. So as they move in the direction, they kind of move somewhat together. Sometimes you see one of them dip, the other one will continue to go up, and vice versa. But that just, again, it depends on timing. So it's not really a matter of location, it's more a matter of timing. Now, don't get me wrong, location is important. So never underestimate the power of location. And what else I wanted to mention? Oh, I do want to mention that I am in the process of writing a book. The book is it's going to be called, right now I have a tentative title. It's called Live Free Forever. So for a long time, I represented a lot of first-time home buyers that were looking to get started in real estate investments. Now, if you know me, if you followed me in the past, you obviously know that I've connected with Grant Cardone. I like a lot of his material. And I don't necessarily agree that all of the time you should start off thinking about larger units. There's a lot of reasons. Mindset is huge. Some people are just not ready mentally to get into, 16 units or 40 units. They don't, they can't see themselves doing that. So that takes time to develop. But what I do truly know and believe and have experienced down to my core, and I will argue this with anyone, is if you're in a major city, especially in a suburban city, there, rents continue to go up. If you have the opportunity to buy a duplex, to buy a triplex, a 3-unit, or to go all out and buy a 4-unit using an FHA loan, man, I tell you, to start off, I don't think that there's any better way. Because what I am seeing is a lot of people are getting into these $350,000, $400,000 single family homes. They're having almost a $3,000 a month payment, and it's all expenses. Okay, your house is not an asset. It is an asset over time, because again, you do typically build equity. But again, on a monthly basis, think of cash flow. What do you need to survive monthly? So there's a lot of these details that I do have in my book. I've connected with an individual that actually says the same exact thing. I have requested that he co-author the book with me. Once it becomes official, I will let you know who the co-author is. I will have a co-author, as well as several individuals that will have kind of an introduction into the book. I don't want to say they'll have a forward, but I do want to bring on 2 specific individuals that I look up to, and I believe that our visions align, and we want to have this. Now, this book is being written in English, but then we are going to rewrite it in Spanish. So this is something that I'm doing to give back to the community, along with the book. There's multiple options that we're talking about here. Again, I don't want to put out a course because I feel that there's a lot of things on there. And I'm not even sure I'm going to sell this book. This book might be a free book that is just available as an ebook for you to go and get. But the kind of the intent on it is to have the book and make a excuse me, and make a series of videos to support that information. And then along with that, I think the idea, or one of the ideas, is going to be to create kind of a master class. Again, it's got to be something very affordable. It's got to be something very ridiculous, something along like the $47 price range, and it's probably going to be worth well over $5,000 of materials that are in this. It will probably contain over, I want to say, 40 hours of content for, specifically going into each one of these things. It'll actually contain over 52 hours of content on just 52 different examples on all cities across the United States, and looking into, multiple investment units, looking into a 2-family, a 3-family, 4-family, and trust me, by the time you've watched all of these videos, you'll be able to, basically calculate your net operating income. You'll be able to calculate your expenses. You'll be able to calculate your cash flow. So that way, the more information you watch, by the time you've seen 100 of these videos, you'll be well versed. So whether you're in the process of buying a multifamily as your first owner-occupant home, or you're just starting up and don't know where to start, you'll be well off prepared between the book and this masterclass that I want to call it. I don't want to call it a course. It's more of a masterclass. Again, it's well over $5,000 worth of content. A lot of these things right now are still kind of in my mind. I've written a few outlines on paper. And again, it is probably going to take us well over 6 months to develop all of this stuff, just because of how detailed it's going to be. Some of these things, as I put out the weekly videos on Facebook and YouTube and the different resources, some of them will have some of the basics things, but then there is going to be a lot of more detailed information that's going to be in there. For example, one of the things that I've been discussing with my attorney is, do we want to bring in a section that specifically talks about, the way that you do asset protection, whether you put it in a land trust, whether you put it in a trust. Again, for the first property, I'm not sure that it's the most appropriate content because it is a little bit advanced. But again, even for your first property, there is nothing wrong with putting it in a trust. So again, it's protecting your assets. You're already paying closing costs. You might as well do it once to record the deed and record the documents correctly versus having to amend it in the future. But again, we're just trying to decide all these things. But as I bring in this content to you, what I'm trying to say is that there's just going to be so much content and so much information that's there that you're going to have every single process from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4, what things to consider on every one of the things. For example, everything from making an offer on a property. Again, I don't go in deeply into contracts because that is kind of state specific, and I'm not an attorney, so I don't do contracts. As a real estate broker, we fill out contracts that are done by attorneys and that are done by our state boards. But anytime that we create addendums, typically if it's something complex, we do like to check in with attorneys and make sure that the language that's in there, number one, is legal and that it's enforceable, because the last thing you want is to have a contract that you think you're protected or you think that says something, but it actually says something else and you can't enforce it at the time if the time ever comes. So again, there's just all of these details that I don't think you need to know, but at least if you have the basic definition and if you are seeing those terms and if you are seeing that those items are coming up and you continue to see the terminology and the language that's in there, at least it's giving you an idea of what you should look for and be aware of at the time. So I think that's going to be it. Again, I announced kind of a few things. I gave you the pointers, what to look out for in real estate. I told you about the book that we're developing. And if you have any comments, you could DM me. Again, the best way to reach me is maxcruzrealtor.com. Right now, it's just my contact information on there. Our website is going to be really, really simple. I see a lot of websites that are confusing, but I think if you're going on a real estate broker's website, you might want to see some basic information on there, but really you want to just contact and communicate with that broker. So I think our website is going to be a little bit different in the sense that we're going to have a blog on there where some of the video content we create will be on there. But it's really going to be a basic communication platform where, hey, you found me, you want to communicate with me, these are the options. Select what's best for you. If you want to connect through me with Twitter or WhatsApp, or you like Facebook Messenger, or you want to text me, or you want to call me, those are the options that are going to be available. Because I think a lot of the websites have become complicated, and I know social media continues to develop and evolve. I know a lot of people right now are on Clubhouse, and that's a whole different story. I think I'm going to have one day that I'm just going to talk about different social medias and what we do with it and how we utilize it. And if you're a real estate broker, or if you're a commercial owner and you're selling your building on your own, number one, I don't know why you want to do that. If you need help selling your building, we would love to speak with you. If we can get you additional information on, you don't have to sign an exclusive contract with us. We could, look at your marketing plan and suggest a few things. Again, I'm looking to help people here. And I know if I provide enough goodwill, the listings will come. Obviously, when we do prospect, some prospect is intentional, but overall, when I bring information like this, and if you call me and you want 15 minutes of my time to just say, hey, I own this building, I'm trying to sell it on my own, and for whatever reason, I don't want to list with a real estate broker, that's fine. If you just want an opinion, a value, if you want to make sure that it's priced correctly, if you want to see what you're doing or what you could do better, we're here for that. Again, the best way to connect with me is just go to maxcruzrealtor.com. There you can find all of my contact information, how to reach me, and go from there. So with that, hopefully you have an awesome and amazing Tuesday night, a great week. Hopefully you're still in contact with your goals. If you haven't done goal setting, go figure out what your number one goal is for this year and make it happen. And if I can help you with that, again, reach out to me and I'll be available for a quick chat and we can look into it. So with that, have an awesome night, and let's see if I could close this down correctly. Share this with someone, DM me, text me, whatever works for you. So have a great night, and I'll see you on the next video.